Hello and welcome to the Fossil Huntress podcast. Today on the show I pose a question. What do armadillo, tortoise urine, fried tarantulas, and goat eyeballs have in common? Find out on today's episode. So some of you, the geeky ones in the crowd like me, may know that they are meals, famously strange scientific meals that are served at the Explorers Club annual dinner. So while eating study specimens is not in vogue today, it was once common practice for researchers in 1700 to the 1880s. Charles Darwin belonged to a club dedicated to tasting exotic meals, and in his first book wrote almost 3 times as much about the dishes he enjoyed, like armadillo and tortoise urine, than he did about the biogeography of his Galapagos finches and the other specimens that he encountered. One of the most famously strange scientific meals occurred on January 13th, 1951, at the 47th Explorers Club annual dinner, when members purportedly dined on a frozen woolly mammoth. The prehistoric meat was supposedly found on islands up near Alaska in the USA by the eminent polar explorer Father Bernard Rosecrans Hubbard, the Glacier Priest, and Captain George Francis Kosco of the U.S. Navy. So this follows fast on the heels of dinners that are famous for the inviting people to try fried tarantula and goat eyeballs and all sorts of things that we can gnash on, because you and I are gnathostoma, so we're in the group that have jaws and teeth and can bite down on things. So dating back to the late Silurian, we started to bite and mow down on things in our ocean and in our world, and that evolved through to this group of humans that like to eat tasty meals. So this much publicized meal captured the public's imagination and became an enduring legend and source of pride for the club. So if you were a Who's Who in the Zoo member, you could claim your fame to having eaten some of these meals and appetizers. And they popularized an annual menu of exotics that continues to exist today, making the club as well known for its notorious hors d'oeuvres, like the fried tarantulas and goat eyeballs, as it is for its notable members like Teddy Roosevelt, Charles Darwin, and Neil Armstrong. And as well as being deliciously exotic, some of those meals had scientific significance. So the Yale Peabody Museum holds a sample of meat preserved from that famous 1951 meal. And interestingly, it's labeled as a South American giant ground sloth, so Megatherium, so not mammoth. And the specimen of meat was originally designated as BRCM 16925 before a transfer in 2001 from the Bruce Museum to the Yale Peabody Museum of Natural History in New Haven, where it gained the number YPM MAM 14399. The specimen is now permanently deposited in the Yale Peabody Museum with the designation YPM HERR 19475 and is accessible to outside researchers. So, were they eating mammoth along with their tarantulas and their goat eyeballs? The meat was never actually fixed in formalin and was initially stored in isopropyl alcohol before being transferred to ethanol when it arrived at the Peabody. So DNA extraction occurred at Yale University in a clean room with equipment reserved exclusively for an aDNA analysis. In 2016, Jessica Glass and her colleagues looked to answer the question of what they were actually eating, and she segmented a fragment of the mitochondrial cytochrome, the cytochrome B gene and studied archival material to verify its identity, which, if genuine, would extend the range of megatherium over 600% and alter views on ground sloth evolution. So you are what you eat comes into a whole new play here, in that they were claiming to have eaten something that would extend out what we know scientifically about this species. Their results showed that the meat was not mammoth or megatherium, but was a giant green sea turtle, Chaliona midas. And so much for imaginative and elaborate legends. The prehistoric dinner was likely meant as a publicity stunt, as are all their dinners. And Glass's study emphasizes the value of museums collecting and curating voucher specimens, particularly those used for evidence of extraordinary claims. And so long as Glass did their experiment, and a friend's mother, my kayaking partner, served up a steak from her freezer to guests in Castlegar that hailed from 1978. So she laid claim to a steak that would wow us, and it was only after that meal, tough, inedible, was actually quite delicious. And the meat was surprisingly divine, so you can freeze something for a mighty long time and have it still be delicious. Anyway, so that's the tale of a taste of studies and the Explorers Club annual dinner, and the answer to the question of what fried tarantulas, goat eyeballs, megatherium, and green sea turtles, and green sea turtle and tortoise urine and armadillo have in common. Thanks for listening.